I'm going to win this race. Go fast. Oh, we'll have to have words.
We've got it. We've got it.
Yeah, good start, John. Go on. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go again.
How did you get started in athletics?
Oh, I was about your age, and I started doing some cross countries in schools, and I did a lot of that. Did a lot of the Star Track camps just to keep me busy, and I actually went through a stage where I stopped athletics altogether because I played rugby. So I played rugby at an academy level, and then I was released from the academy to work on speed, acceleration. So I came back to athletics, and that's when it all kicked off a little bit more, and I managed to do quite well in my first race. Yeah, so my parents both competed. Mum did 800s at school, Dad did 400s at school, and then Josh played. So we've all gone through. My parents are very fond of us all doing everything, like every sport you could do. So I've done football, rugby, tennis, badminton, whatever you think it is, I've done it probably. Just to try and find the one that we were good at.
You specialise in the 400 metres now, but you haven't always focused on one event. How did other events help your development?
I think it was more the rugby, if anything, that helped with the athletics. So I came from a rugby, obviously, and I did the 400 metre hurdles, and that didn't go very well, unfortunately, the 400 metre hurdles. I kind of got disqualified in one of my races, like the biggest race of the year. I actually really messed up and got disqualified for it. And then since then we decided, you know what, instead of doing the hurdles, I'll do the individual flat. And from there is when it all kicked off, when we did that flat.
Can you describe what's going on through your mind when you're on the start line?
On the start line, I like to be very, I don't know, I'm not sure what the word is, but in a way cocky almost on the start line. It's quite how I like to look at it. I like to think I'm the best. I like to know that I'm going to win this race before I've even done it. Because all the work that I've put in behind the scenes, like how hard I've worked, I would do that in the background knowing, and I'll go to an event knowing that I can win the race and nobody can stop me really. So it's more of a adrenaline, a nice, yeah, it's one of those positive. You like to be positive before your race. I like to get myself really, really pumped and psyched up, and it's like I'll do it. I won't just do it for a race. So if I'm going to do a big lift in the gym, I'll do it. If I'm going to do a big rep in training, like last rep, I want to keep it all the same. So it's how I get myself psyched up. And it's like the more adrenaline I have, the faster I'm going to move and the better I'm going to perform at that little thing. So that's the reason for the slap. And it's also because I like people to know I'm there. Yeah. So if I'm slapping myself and shouting on the start line, people are going to all look at me and be like, oh, he might run fast, he might not run fast. And if I don't run fast, I look like a fool. So it's putting more pressure on myself, really. I like the pressure. It makes me run a lot faster.
Who are your heroes?
If I'm honest, in regards to athletics, I don't really have any. I don't want to be like anybody else. I don't want to look up to somebody else because I want to make my own path. I want to be like the only one, if that makes sense. I don't want to be someone else. I'm just ready to make my own journey, and wherever that may take me, we'll find out.
How do you cope with setbacks like injuries or not winning?
There's a few stages when you go through these setbacks, and so for example, with the whole COVID situation kicked off, it was different for everybody. There was a championship that year that got cancelled, and it was like would have been my first one I've went to, would have been my first vest, had a really good chance of placing highly, and then COVID kicked in and everything got called off, and that was quite hard. and I went through a stage of I don't want to do it anymore. And it was that stage of I don't want to do it anymore where my mates were keeping me in, making sure I kept on doing what I wanted to do. I had a little bit of, I'm not going to train athletics, I'm just going to train in the gym. And it was that period of time where I stopped, which is what made me miss the sport. And when I started to miss it, that's when you know you need to go back to it. And it's when you'll perform your best is when you miss it. And that's in regards to, that's obviously in regards to the unwillingness, but the setbacks is, you got to stay positive when you have injuries and stuff. I like to think if you're happy, everything heals faster. If you're there feeling sorry for yourself and you'll just fall out of love with the sport again. And it's keeping a positive mindset on it, which is what makes you want to keep going. And you heal faster as well. I like to think that helps a lot.
You're now a Puma-sponsored athlete. How did that happen?
Well, it was a combination of things. I was coming back from Europeans with 2 gold medals, and then carrying on my success by bringing indoors and running faster times, and then I broke the European record. So there was a few companies involved. Originally, Puma were not interested. Originally, and then I broke the record and they came back into the works, and there was Nike, Adidas, New Balance, all these different companies that all wanted to have a look in, but I felt from the start it was always going to be Puma, so they may not wanted me at that time, so I waited, I worked hard, and then I ran the European record, and from that I got the deal that I wanted with the company that I wanted to go with from the start.
How has your coach, James Wright, helped your development?
Massively. There's a good bond between myself and James. It's not just like athlete coach. We get on really well outside of it as well. He's helped me because there's a sense of I could be a freak of nature, but there's also a sense of that he's the coaching that he's doing, the work that he's putting in is what's caused me to get to this point as well. So it's almost a mix of you can't like be successful without hard work, and so there's talent and hard work which go together. And it's that hard work from that James makes me do, which is what I think makes me successful.
How did you feel when you were chosen to be part of the British Athletics Olympic Futures Academy programme?
It was a relief, if I'm honest. It was a bit of a relief because it's all the support that I need, all in one area, basically. And knowing that I have that, it takes a lot of the weight off my shoulders. So when I need to go and get treatment, if I need to have access to certain things, I can get all of that through the Futures program. And it's just a weight off my shoulders, so I don't have to worry about anything. So if I needed an X-ray tomorrow, I can snap my fingers and get one. I don't have to wait. I don't have to be on a waiting list for anything. It's really, it's very made life a lot easier. Is all we'll say.
How do you balance training with your college work?
So I used to do an apprenticeship in engineering. So I did an engineering apprenticeship, and recently I've stopped doing that now. I was able to balance it very well because I was working throughout the day. So doing like you would go to school, I'd be doing that throughout the day, and then I would come home, eat food, and then I would go to training in the evenings. So it was quite an easy way to go around it. But now my training load has increased a lot more. So the timing of doing everything is quite hard to do now. And like going through different stages of what I need. I need enough sleep, need enough recovery, need to eat right, and being at work at the same time was just not feasible. So now we do one or the other. So I've chosen to carry on with the running.
Your outdoor PB is 45.72 and your indoor PB is 46.16. If there's not as much wind indoors, why are the outdoor times quicker?
Oh, very good. The indoor track, you have 2 laps, there's 2 laps of an indoor track. It's only 200 meters long. The bends on an indoor track are a lot like tighter. So instead of running around a 100-meter bend, you're running around a 50-meter bend, meaning you won't be able to generate as much speed because you're turning and loads of other factors. And the fact you're doing 2 laps as well, there's a point of the first lap where you all break. So you're all in like next to each other basically, and you all have to try and fight for the inside lane. And that fight for the inside lane could also play a part in why it's slower, because you're cutting across the track, you're trying to do different things. There's shoulders in there sometimes. Usually they like to say on paper it's about a 1 second difference between the indoors and outdoors, depending on which lane you're in. So when I run this year, that 45.72 will be a lot quicker, a lot quicker. Because the wind on the outdoor track, because you travel in every direction, as in you go like north, south, east, west, it doesn't matter where the wind is, because if you get it on the one straight, you're going to get it the opposite direction than the other straight. And it's the same on the bend. So if I get it into my face on one bend, when I got on the other bend, it's going to be on my back. So it cancels out on the outdoor tracks. However, what doesn't cancel out is no matter if you're indoors or outdoors, it's still going to hurt the last 100 meters of that 400.
Tell us about how your diet has changed as your athletics has become more serious.
At first, my diet didn't really change. I just ate what I want. So if I wanted to go to McDonald's, I would get a McDonald's. But now I like to make sure I eat enough of the right stuff, so enough protein, enough carbohydrates, for example, to aid that recovery. There's little things like supplementation that you need to take just to make sure your bones are healthy. And one thing that I don't like eating is fish, and fish is just something I've never really been very fond of. So instead of eating the fish, I'll have some tablets which have all the same. So like the omega-3 from that you get in the fish, I'll have a tablet for instead. But I'd like to say it hasn't changed much. I just like to make sure, as long as your fundamentals are okay, you can have things like a chocolate bar, you can have like a McDonald's if you want a McDonald's.
You use social media like Twitter. What insights can you give us about how to manage your digital footprint as your career progresses?
You just got to be careful with like what you're posting. For example, like because I'm now a Puma funded athlete, I can't wear stuff like Nike, New Balance, Adidas, anything like sportswear brand. I'm able to wear this today because it's a Great Britain, like it's a representative like jumper. So like you can't really change the company that the country uses for supplier. So even things like, so say I was to go out and I was to wear Nike trainers, but I got photographs wearing Nike trainers, I would get in trouble for doing that. So I've just got to be careful what I post, when I post, and make sure I'm not saying anything that I shouldn't be saying, because it can always come back and bite you if you're posting anything that shouldn't be posted.
Matthew Hudson-Smith set a new UK 400 metres record recently with 44.35. Do you have a particular time you're aiming for, or do you have other ways of setting targets?
I just like to win. I just like to win, really. I don't really worry about chasing a time. If I'm in a bigger race and I win the race, the likelihood is I'm going to run a fast time. So for now, Matt's taken the British record, which I'm glad he's taken. I'd much rather take the record off him than take it off Ewan Thomas, because Matt can come back and run again and take it back, and we can have that competitiveness between us of who's going to get it now, who's going to get it next. Whereas with Ewan, I wasn't able to do that. I had a nice chat with Ewan about it, about the race and stuff. He was very supportive. A lot of the older guys, the old 400 metre runners, so like the Roger Blacks, the Ewan Thomases, the Jamie Bolsh, they've all sent a message every now and then, or spoken to me at some point, say like, how you getting on, or you ran well, or to congratulate me on something. It's nice to have that Because you have people like Roger Black, for example, my dad would look up to, and he would look at him and think, oh God, like proper idolise him, and now I can talk to him if I want to go and talk to him. It's quite nice to have that. It's quite nice to be able to do that.
We've got Sports Day coming up soon. Do you have any advice on how we can perform at our best?
Oh, to perform at your best, really. I'm not too sure. I think you got to go into it thinking you're the best, thinking you're going to win. Because if you can't believe you can win, you won't. You don't go to a race to come second. I don't. That's not how I like to do it. So I wouldn't turn up to an event expecting to come second. I always want to win. So make sure that the night before you're getting enough sleep. Sleep's important because it helps with recovery and prepare your body for the next day. And just enjoy it. If anything, just be happy, enjoy it. Because, like I said, with injury, you recover faster when you're happy, but you race faster when you're happy as well. On that day of competition.
How long do you think it'll take for you to get into the actual Olympics?
Well, whenever the next Olympics is. So it's 2024 is the Paris Olympics, and I believe I'll be able to go to that. There's no age like you have to get to before you can compete at that level. If you're fast, you're fast. If you're not, you're not. Like you can work hard to get faster, and it's those set times which will get you into teams. And you have to like win certain races and go to different competitions, but there's not an age. So if there was an Olympics this year or next year, I was old enough I can go to it because I'm old enough, and it's only if I show that I'm fast enough to do that. They don't really care about age. The Commonwealth Games are very realistic. However, they're at the same time there's a World Under-20 Championships and in Colombia. So I would like to go to that and win everything you can win as a junior. So at the moment, while I'm under 20, there's like different age categories of running. So I'm under 20, but I can go to the senior and run at a senior level at the major championships. However, when I go past that under 20, I can never come back again. That's it. It's gone, and I can't come back. So I want to win what I can win as a junior, and then do the same at the senior level. So I've already got the European gold for the 400 and 4x4, and I want to try and get the World Championship gold at the 4 and the 4x4 as well.